Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike, and today I am joined by the one, the only. Some people once thought he was the Stig, if you're old enough to remember that. All we know is that we are joined by the Oracle.
Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here, actually. This is going to be really interesting because this is like one of the first times I'm ever not going to be in front of the computer controlling the actual stream. So, hello, everyone. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for having me, if you will.
That'll do. Right, we've got the same show we normally have today. We are going to go through, let me bring up the main screen. We are going to go through BlackRock and Stake. It was a stupid move. Other people agree with me. Justin Sun has moved Tron, or not moved, has connected Tron to Solana. Let's talk about that. We're going to talk about 3 AI projects that you need to hold for the end of the bull run. We're going to talk about treasuries. We're going to talk about Canada. Canada was going to sell off Canadian, but we are going to have a little bit of a Maple bash. Talking of Maple, they are one of the sponsors of the stream. Did you like that, Ben?
That was really
That
smooth.
was really, really smooth,
That
wasn't it? We're going to talk about Raydium. We spoke yesterday. Raydium was launching their own version of Pump.Fun. What is happening today? I think it's tit for tat. We're going to go have a look at that. We're going to look at Pengu ETF. I did say that, yes, a Pengu ETF. And then we're going to finish with whale hunting. And this is something about Zach XBT. And we might throw a few charts in there just for fun. And yes, we are back. Now, we are lagging for 1 second every minute. And we know that, okay? But it's nothing we can do. We've tried running it on various different ways of doing this. There's nothing we can do for this moment in time. So we'll just have to get on with it. If you're new here, by the way, I am Mike, and I am joined by the Oracle.
Yep, this is my real name, the Oracle.
The real name is the Oracle. KB is in chat. Are you going to read out who's here?
Oh, yeah, should I read the chat?
Yeah,
That's my job now.
Why
right.
have any job?
No,
why have any job
to
on
be fair,
the screen?
to be fair, on the mainstream view of the chart. Anyway, I'll say hello to everyone. Hello to Velrope. Good morning to you guys. Bullish Bull, Hidden Agendas. Shout out to you. Sunpunt Danny, KB, Jan as well. I'm just shout everyone out. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Now, if you're on Binance, we won't be doing a shout out because we don't have the Binance chat open. So if you are on Binance, and that's where the majority of our viewers are, we normally get anywhere between 2,000 and 6,000 people watch us on Binance. We have not got your chat open because we just don't have the manpower to stop the spam. But good morning to everybody on Binance.
That's not going to open now.
And good morning to everybody on YouTube. Now, let's start then. Volume back below 100 billion. Again, back into the doldrums. Bitcoin dominance hasn't moved. ETH dominance hasn't moved. Let's move on. Bitcoin above 84,000, down a little bit. And again, it's like Groundhog Day. Where were we on Monday? 84,000. Where were we on Wednesday before all the news? 84,000. Okay, we're not moving at this moment in time. It's frustrating for you. I'm sure it's frustrating for everybody else. Look at Ethereum back below 2,000. It can't hold on. XRP was at 250, back down to 240. BNB hasn't really changed. Solana, 126. 126. It's now 127.50. Okay? Everything is rattling around like skeletons in tins, trying to make a breakout, and there's nothing to push us up. And maybe the Oracle, if we ask him very nicely, will show us the Bitcoin chart later on. Maybe. Right then, gainers, 24-hour gainers would be helpful.
Buy button. I don't know that. That's quite cool. Call market cap. Buy button.
Yeah. XDC is up. Carver, Berachain, Celestia is a waste of time. That is up. Tron is there, and a few others. Litecoin. Look at that Litecoin. It's under $100. Considering that is supposed to be an ETF this year, that's had no major price appreciation this year. I know everything's down, but anyway. Pi, again, waste of time. There's nothing left there but the crust. Don't go anywhere near Pi. Jasmine is down. EOS, they are changing their name to Volt, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
So EOS are going to become a Web3 bank. And the price pumped and woke everybody up that held down EOS. They saw the price and they sold it. That's the way I view that. Sui is down a bit. Sonic is down a bit. Again, nothing to worry about too much. That is pretty much all we're going to talk about there because we don't have a lot of time. So we're going to get into some X-Files. And then hopefully we will get the Oracle involved in the conversation and tap into the Oracle's wealth of expertise.
Absolute flourishing mind. I am absolutely overflowing with knowledge. It's uncontrollable.
So, the SEC has put out guidance about proof of work and securities laws. Now, you know what the Howey test is? The Howey test.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The Howey test doesn't work for crypto. Doesn't. It's a different type of class. But they keep wanting to call things securities or commodities. Now, we know Bitcoin is a commodity, but proof of work covers more than Bitcoin. It covers Dogecoin, it covers Litecoin, it covers Casper, I think, covers a lot of other things. So the SEC, believe it or not, within 2 months of Trump being in power, have started to give guidance. Incredible. They've only had 4 years to do this under Biden, right? So they've released this information to basically give everybody clarity that Bitcoin miners are not doing anything wrong. That's going to pump the price of Bitcoin miners, in my opinion, and it's just a little bit more security and safety for some of these assets, some of these companies. There's not a lot we can do about it. Right then. US Bitcoin ETFs bought 6,000 Bitcoin so far this week. A gentle reminder. How many Bitcoin are mined a day, Brogan? 450.
Yeah.
450 a day.
Ridiculous.
We're 4 days into the week, and we're at what? What's that? 1,400 mined, 6,000 bought. What's wrong?
No, I think it's ridiculous isn't it, how fast it's going to happen and how consistent it's going to happen over a long period of time. And yeah.
Well, all I'm going to say there is the supply of Bitcoin, like toilet paper. What happened during pandemic? Everybody bought toilet paper, and the reason we mention toilet paper is it's still in everybody's minds that we ran out of toilet paper. That's why I mentioned it. We could pick many other things. Eggs is another good example. Yeah. In 12 to 24 months' time, there will not be enough Bitcoin around if this price stays at this level. So the price has to go up because you cannot buy more Bitcoin than's being made. Yeah. It's eventually,
and not expect the price to change.
And not expect, exactly.
This is one of the first things you learn if you go to economics. This is one of the first things you learn about the effect supply and demand, or the relationship supply and demand has, and the relationship with the price. This is the first thing you learn. This is the first thing I learned when I was doing my A-level economics. This is the first thing you learn. This is clear. This is obvious. Yeah. And obviously, I think the majority of people are clearly know that this is going to cause the price to go up.
Yeah.
But for the few people out there who might not say otherwise, just don't.
So the motto is buy Bitcoin.
Pretty much.
Just buy Bitcoin. Okay. We're going to do a lot more Bitcoin content, of course. You know, one thing I haven't pointed out to anybody.
What?
Our logo.
Yep.
It's the Bitcoin logo. Just in pink, because we like to be in touch with our feminine side. But we never really point out to anybody that is really, in brass tacks, it's the only true asset. That's the only true crypto asset. Everything else, in my opinion, is either a security or not. It's not scarce. It can be printed. No. There isn't a single other asset out there that comes close to Bitcoin, is there?
No. I mean, a lot of them are not subsets, because it's not like it's one overarching crypto, but it are derivatives of the same leaf, but are not quite
elements.
Bitcoin.
They've got elements
of Bitcoin. But for this valuable asset like gold, it's just this hold of value. So there is not really much like it in terms of being that as big as Bitcoin.
No.
There's nothing as big as Bitcoin.
No, I don't think so. Right then, the Orange Man vows to make the US the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and urges Congress to pass stablecoin legislation to end crypto banking discrimination. Again, this is like dominoes. So
what's this?
No, all I was going to say was I made the video about XRP yesterday, and I gave the 3 reasons why XRP is going to become so big. XRP is centralized. XRP has a CEO. It's got Brad Garlinghouse. But what else does XRP have? It has a seat at the table with the Orange Man. They're going to advise on stablecoin regulation. What does Ripple have? It has its own stablecoin. It has its own ledger. It has its own asset class, because it's not technically, as far as I can see, it's not really Cardano. It's not Bitcoin. So as far as Trump is concerned, everything you read about this, it's to do with tax dollars and control. That's what he wants to do. And that's what is going to happen. And we're going to have 20 or 30 different Web3 banks in the next 12 months. And
Now,
then
you know what? I've zoomed in on the video. He's starting to look a bit less orange. I've noticed. I don't know if that's just me.
he's losing weight.
Good. He's getting better. He's starting to become less orange.
He's
I was thinking, as you said, our favorite orange man. I was thinking, who else is orange? I was thinking Garfield.
Homer
Trump.
Simpson's yellow,
Yeah.
isn't he? What's
Lighter tinge orange.
SpongeBob is yellow.
Hello as well. Who's orange?
I can't think of an orange.
Garfield's a cat.
Drop a comment. I tell you who's orange. The other Hulk. He's kind
That's
of
red.
orange. Is he red?
It's Red Hulk. Or
Red Hulk.
I don't know what the actual name of it is.
We need an orange Hulk.
We need more oranges
We
in
did
the
it.
world.
We need you. You are as orange today as Donald Trump. In fact, you could play Donald Trump in
Right.
his formative years.
I think I'd rather play his son. I think if I had to play anyone in Trump's family, I'd have to be his son.
Right then, this is a good one. Pengu and Pudgy Penguins NFT ETF, first of its kind. What do you think the chances are of Canary getting their Pengu ETF?
I don't know what this is. This is inconceivable to me.
So let me tell you what happens, right? Tango Man, that's a good name for him.
Yeah.
I like that. The problem with this is that we've gone from strict headmaster, yeah, to hippie headmaster, right?
Oh, this is getting in.
Where everything's got a rule,
Yeah.
and now do what you want.
Yeah.
Love is
And
freedom.
now you can smoke in cafes.
Exactly. So should this be approved? No. And it won't.
This is. There has to be an air of professionality to this area still, because it's not like we're turning everything to Crown Fest. I think the government still needs to be this arcing, body of professionality. And I don't think a NFT ETF will help that, in my opinion. I also don't think it's going to be very. Who's going to buy it? Like, out of the actual the people who are going to be buying ETFs, are they going to be buying Pudgy Penguin NFT ETF? No.
I don't think so. You're right. I mean,
They'll scoff and then go back to Bitcoin. And buy Bitcoin.
All that will happen is all of these ETFs will get made, right? So let's say we end up with 500 ETFs, right? And we've got an Oracle ETF, and we've got a Tango ETF, right?
A person ETF like that.
Yeah, and nobody buys into them. So then the cost of running them is more than the benefit and the profit they make from it. So then they all close down in maybe 2 years' time. But then what comes with that is all the negative press.
Yeah, so they're starting to shut down on crypto, then they're starting to cancel crypto, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, they've just made an NFT ETF of Pudgy Penguins. Who
Exactly.
cares?
Exactly. And the press will then use that trash to then bash crypto and say, see, it's all a scam. They're all closing down. Then Peter Schiff and his stupid facial hair will go onto X and start talking about why you need to buy gold, because you need gold. And there's only one asset there, which is gold, right?
Yeah.
One commodity, that's there, it's gold. Whereas we've got 500 ETFs, of which we don't need 400. It's a waste of time.
No.
Now, this is a sponsored tweet, because of course we have Maple, partner of Maple.
Affiliation.
Now, Maple have got a Bitcoin yield product, which pays between 5 and 10%. And I know some of you have already gone over and registered on Maple, because I can see you in their Telegram groups. So I know you've gone over. You've not told me. That's fine. We don't have affiliate links or anything like that.
Well, commission around.
But I've made a video on how they make their yield. And it's important to understand where the yield comes from, because you don't want to be stuck in the same situation as you were with Celsius, with rehypothecation, where they take your money and then lend it out. That's not how it works. And if you are just going to ignore Maple and you want to go and do it yourself, you can go directly to the company that offers this yield, which is Core, which is a layer 2 on Bitcoin. So make sure, the reason I'm bringing this up, make sure to watch the video that we've made about Maple this week. And you might watch it and you might decide that really is not for me. And again, that's not a problem, because I'm going to look for somewhere to put my gains when I've made them. And they have a USD product that's currently paying 8-9%, something like that, which is still not too bad. But let's move on. Right, successful ETH ETF, less perfect without staking. Again, something else that I commented in the video I made about XRP yesterday. you know the ETH ETF has been bashed,
Mhm.
right? Because the price of ETH hasn't gone through the roof, right? But when you look at it as an ETF, as a standalone ETF, it's been a massive success.
Yeah.
The problem is, of course, everybody wants to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's not been reflected. Yeah.
Not been reflected. So one of the other reasons that the ETH ETF hasn't worked is, of course, that Gary decided that they weren't allowed to stake it.
Yeah, I mean, what's the whole ethos of ETH? Is staking. So to ignore this factor is, foolish.
Well, this is exactly right. Now, the thing is, if you said, right, okay, you've got a product that generates 3% yield,
Yep.
and you're allowed to go and buy that product, but you're not allowed to get that yield, right? Then it's half-arsed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
But
Or
it
half-assed, as the
loses,
Americans
it
would say.
loses its not its value, because it has value in the first place for just being there. But in terms of the functionality of it, obviously
Yeah.
this is where Bitcoin differs and why it's fundamentally such a success. Obviously, it's one of the biggest crypto,
Yeah.
but also because you just hold it.
Yeah.
But obviously with ETH, like, different story.
But you do it through the ETF, and what does the ETF do? They charge you a fee.
Hmm.
So if you buy 1 ETH today, at this moment in time, next year, you will have 0.995 ETH. Now, they bring staking in, and let's say staking is 3%. You will have 1.025 ETH next year, because maybe they take their cut, right? So they've done it to not harm investors by harming investors through the fees. This is the SEC.
Right.
The other argument that I had at the time is, if you stake on Ethereum, how does Ethereum make decisions?
Yeah, 'cause it's not
Through the voting mechanism.
exactly, and it's not like the whole point is decentralization, and not each individual who owns this is going to have that power of being able to vote.
Correct.
So it's kind of, and we talked about this ages, quite a while ago, not ages ago, in terms of the threat of this singular power having that stake and having that massive percentage, which is getting controlled by a few individuals.
Exactly. And what BlackRock should do, which they may do over time, is have a mechanism. So for all of the people that hold the BlackRock ETH ETF, they all vote, and then that winning vote then gets passed on to the main vote. But they won't. They'll just take the vote for themselves. Okay.
There's too much. Everything's about money and time. There's too much
Exactly.
effort to do that without really any benefit to everybody other than the people who own the ETF. So why are they going to bother to do that? They're not. Like you said.
Exactly.
So,
So as far as I can see, we're going to see ETH staking. That's going to happen. It's going to benefit the people holding the Ethereum ETF. And then don't forget, we've got Solana ETF coming up this year as well. Solana ETF will probably pay you about 5 or 6%. So that's going to be the reason that the Solana ETF works. XRP ETF doesn't have anything like that. So maybe XRP are going to have to look at some kind of staking mechanism to allow for them to compete. Because if you showed a layman Solana and XRP, market cap, pretty similar.
Yeah.
So what does Solana have? It's got staking, it pays 5 or 6%. You've heard of it because of all these stupid memes and stuff like that. XRP is a man in a suit, Brad and his gang. Which one are you going to pick? I think more people are going to go for Solana. Even though I love XRP, I think more people will pick Solana.
Yeah, it's been a bit more advertised and shown in its light.
Exactly.
Whether good or bad, in their opinion, whether it be like, oh, memes, I hate memes, or I love memes. But yeah, I mean, everyone needs that offset, especially people who aren't in like crypto like that. Like they have, people getting into it. Obviously, I know this is a different system, not getting, not buying Solana and not really holding it, but still, it's. If it was me, I'd rather have a collection of things being held which have different functions. And obviously, like you've got your Bitcoin with the holder value, you've got Ethereum, big functionality, but on Solana it also has that functionality, but in a different field. So I think if it was me, I would also appreciate Solana equally, because of its uniqueness.
Yeah, I would. I certainly would. Right, let's move on then, because it is 11:20. And we haven't really done a lot. And we want to make some room at the end, by the way, because we do want to see the Bitcoin chart.
Yeah, I mean, again, this, we obviously have our artists to go through and stuff, but I mean, you don't have to look at the charts tons. It's just kind of showing what we've got and what we think.
All right.
But anyway.
Okay. Next then, Tron on Solana makes as much sense as ETH on Bitcoin. Now, I said this yesterday, and one of the things I like to have on here is either differing opinions to what I say or opinions that agree with what I say, depending on what people say.
Yeah.
So I've covered things before, and the point is that these things that we say on here do not come out of thin air. We don't just make things up and say things just because we want to be contentious. We say these things because we think we have some evidence or some knowledge in what we're talking about. And Tron going to Solana, in my opinion, is not the move. So basically, to summarize, Justin Sun announced that Tron, the token, was going to be on Solana.
Okay.
Right. And I said in yesterday's show that this is not the move. I said the move is for the Tron stablecoin to have access to Solana because it's a gasless stablecoin. So you can send me $100 and it'd be free.
That's good.
Yes.
More functional than because okay. So it moving or being on Solana.
Yeah.
As well. Is this to be able to have it on as bought on Solana, have the Solana wallet, and then hold the value representation of Tron?
No, because with the stablecoin, what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to mint it directly onto Solana.
Okay.
So they're not going to need to wormhole it or debridge it in. That'll be, maybe that's how they work with the Tron token.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is in terms of, so yeah, so my point was on Tron, not the stablecoin, the gas stablecoin. In terms of to accept the reason of it, it doesn't make sense in terms of what is the actual reason and function of having Tron on Solana.
What he said here is it's to facilitate cross-chain swaps between Tron and Solana.
Okay.
Sun assured his followers he hadn't been hacked, because obviously when you put something out like Tron is live on Solana, people are going to think that you're
What the
hacked.
hell's going on here? Exactly.
Tron cannot be a native token of Solana, but we can see the bridge, which is fine. Now again, if we're looking at a bridge, are we going to look at the fact that that Tron token, like you said, is that just going to be a synthetic version?
Yeah, is it just going to hold the representational value of Tron, and is it just something where you can hold on Solana, which not replicates, because obviously it has to have its value from somewhere, but represents the value of Tron on Solana?
Yeah, I think that's what they'll do.
Right.
But what I think they'll do with their stablecoin is something different.
Yeah,
I think they'll mint directly onto Solana.
I think that's a lot more. I'd rather. I mean, like you said, obviously, I'm in agreement. That sounds a lot more useful than just having Tron and Solana. Obviously, I think people will still accept it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that sounds a lot. It's something which needs to be on everywhere it possibly can, because that's pretty huge.
And the other thing, of course, right? So stablecoins make money, don't they? So I want to. This is how I would do it again, and I'm not running a blockchain, right? You make roughly 5% a year as a stablecoin. So for every billion, or for every 10 billion, you make $500 million a year profit. Okay. Now he's going to make it gasless. So all of the gas fees on Solana and Tron are going to have to be paid for out of that 5%. Okay. Now I don't think they're going to get anywhere near that 5%, because you're talking fractions and fractions of a transaction. Yeah. Now, how about this? If you want to get paid to hold your stablecoin and earn 2% on your stablecoin, you need to stake 10,000 Tron, 100,000 Tron, 1 million Tron, whatever. You need to stake that Tron with us, or lock it away in this vault, and then we will pay you 2% on your stablecoin. So you can have a dual stake. So stake your stablecoin, stake your Tron, and you get 2.5%, 3%. And what that does is it's giving people an incentive to hold his stablecoin, because the more people hold his stablecoin, the more money he makes. So look at it: PayPal, stablecoin; Ripple, stablecoin. Look what they did with Binance. They made Binance get rid of their stablecoin because they didn't like the fact that it wasn't an American-based company. Circle, stablecoin; Tether, stablecoin. What do they all have in common? They're all American. Okay. So what I said in the XRP video yesterday was, where do they make that 5% from? They make it from holding the treasuries. Yeah. So it props up the American government. So instead of having $200 billion of stablecoins, what would happen if they had $2 trillion of stablecoins? Well, that would be $2 trillion worth of US treasuries locked away.
Yeah,
and then the
American that value for America.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's a really good idea. Yeah. But if I was Tron, I'd certainly be I'd actually pay a yield on a stablecoin, because you can do it. At the end of the day, you can do it. But I think moving it is a stupid idea. I don't think we need.
It doesn't seem like it's got that much reason behind it in terms of actual functionality.
No.
Obviously, there probably is functionality about it, and probably people have reason for it, but I don't know. I don't see it.
Right then. Now, you've never partaken in this Friday game that we have.
What's your Friday game?
Let me bring it up and then switch cameras so you can take part in this Friday game. So, I'm going to give you 3 AI crypto tokens.
Okay.
And your job is to rank them in the order that you would invest.
Okay.
Okay. Now, these 3 stable coins, these are the coins, sorry, these 3 AI tokens, these are the coins that you might want to buy before any potential bull run that we have this year.
Okay.
So we're going to give them to you one by one. Okay. So the first one up, and we're not going to talk about Near and AI and everything else like that. First one up is Near Protocol. Okay. It's at $2.71. I loved this token. I said this was a great token. It's got its own blockchain.
Okay.
Near was an AI project before it became a blockchain project. Okay, it was more deep-in-y.
Right. Okay.
Right, but then it became a blockchain project, and then, like 2 proper bros that they held hands or hugged the Nvidia CEO and the Near CEO hugged on stage. Right. Then you've got Nvidia going off and making these AI bots, and you've got Near making AI bots. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realise what's going to go on there. So that's number 1. Number 2 is Potenza. This is an open source protocol for decentralized blockchain-based machine learning networks.
Cool.
Now, I really don't like the project. When I did my review of this project, it absolutely ripped the upside, and the project was hijacked, and
Is this the really high valuation?
it went absolutely through the. It's not ICP. It's similar to ICP. The price went up to like $600 or $500, and then it came all the way back down again. But it rewards the builders for building on their project.
Right.
And I don't see that.
So creating these or machine learning is creating these.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Not checkpoints, because that's AI, proper AI. It's a tiny bit different, isn't it? I can't remember what it's called exactly, but
Basically,
instances of bots.
they commit their code
Yeah.
to improve the AI bots and improve the code of the system. That's where it was when I looked at it.
So
last.
okay, so it's an open source project, which if you commit to it, you will get benefited. That's cool.
In Tau, yeah, it's great for a developer.
Yeah, but
where's-
as an individual,
Where are they making their money from?
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure they've got a business model, but when I looked at it, you can look at a business model and say, that's a sandwich shop. How does it make money? It sells sandwiches.
sandwiches. People
You
buy
look at
sandwiches.
Potenza, and it seems to emit rather than
I mean,
bring
because
in.
it's a very small subset of people who
Yeah.
are actually going to be making money directly as a new, not trading it, but making it in terms of obviously committing to the project.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds cool.
Don't
but-
let me detract you. You can put that as number 1 in yours if you want. Right, now the last one you've heard of before is Render.
Yes, I like Render.
Okay.
I like Render.
Now, Render, the biggest bull case for Render is their partnership with Apple.
Right.
So, Near have got a probable partnership with Nvidia in the future. Render have a guaranteed set in stone partnership with Apple. Okay? And all AI projects, all AI tokens, they're at their 2024 lows right now, as is everything else, as is Solana, as everything else. So in which order would you put Near, Potenza, and Render? Which would you, if you had $1,000, how much would you put into the 3 of them?
Well, I get the point of Biteza. I think it's cool because I understand the concept of providing to open source projects, and it's more so of a not vanity thing, but it's something you do to appreciate it yourself rather than getting paid for it. So it's cool that they provide something for like I said, committing to a project. So I understand the point that that's really the main area of making it, other than just trading it. So I get that the point of not really liking it for the average person. So I would agree with putting that last. Now Render or Near, Near being that kind of potential partnership with Nvidia, making AI bots in general is huge. Obviously, Nvidia is probably one of the biggest pioneers for AI as a whole. Obviously, their latest GPU with its predefined AI chip inside of it is pretty cool. So if that obviously partnership is to play through, is that absolutely huge for the price. That's probably, I think, a Nvidia partnership for creating AI as a whole is a lot larger for a project, not just near, but in the idea of that partnership for AI. I think is a lot bigger than an Apple partnership with Render. I think Render's it's already kind of set its groundworks down in terms of what it can do. So I think I would agree that Near would be the top of the list in terms of the potential profit you can make from it. So I'd probably put Near at the top and then Render in the middle, BitTensor the bottom. In terms of a split, I mean, I probably wouldn't put that much in BitTensor. It doesn't seem like there's much potential for making money, although I could be wrong. Obviously, someone could correct us on that. Near, obviously, if everything's at its lows, obviously, good time to get in there now. Probably do maybe 60-30-10 split.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, well, yeah.
I would have done 60-30-10 because I think the potential of Near outweighs the deliverables of Render.
Yes, because I mean, Render's because of what? So I don't know if it's. I think hasn't it been developed a bit more? But I know that the first, it was like a decentralized rendering system for 3D stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously, that developed into AI now. Is that for kind of you need GPUs to render checkpoints and whatnot? So I assume that's also where they're going with that, which is cool, which is useful. But there's not much you can expand on that.
No,
so,
absolutely agree. All right,
well, I think I think Render's a solid project. I think if I was to use one with my current knowledge, obviously I probably need to learn more about all of them, but I would use Render. But I think Near has more potential, like you said, in terms of partnerships and whatnot.
Yeah.
Has more potential for being a bigger project in terms of profit.
Perfect.
Personal.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Right then, moving on. Now, this isn't. I'm going to have to make this bigger. Nobody's going to be able to see anything on the screen. Right, you know what? Adverts on our streams, right? I have set them to the lowest level possible, and they keep popping up on this screen that we're watching on every 2 minutes. Right then. So, this is a bit of a dig at Canada.
Okay.
Right. So, a few weeks ago.
Thank you, KB, for deleting that message. Appreciate it. There's a bot spam. I just want to see what the message said.
All right.
There's some like spam stuff.
Yeah. I forgot to tell KB on Monday.
Made him
on your stream. I made him a mod. So KB's a mod.
Shout to KB.
So a few weeks ago, Canada came out and said, and I'm not going to do a Canadian accent because I don't want to offend anybody in Canada. But basically came out and said that we're going to sell all of our US treasuries because America is mean, and we're not going to buy any more American alcohol because they're mean, and they're being mean to us. So we're going to sell our US treasuries. And then somebody pointed out how few American treasuries that they own.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't that big of a deal, because you don't really hear about Canada and wealth and power in terms of holding other people.
Exactly. What do I think of when I think of Canada? I think of trees.
Right. I think of maple syrup.
Yeah, maples. Again, shout out to Maple Finance.
I think about that thing going on. This is a big conspiracy theory, isn't it? Have you seen the conspiracy theory about Justin, the main guy, basically, and his mum and dad?
No, I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's a big conspiracy theory. Who is it again? There was another political guy, basically, and his mum. They think they had a little thing going on, and Justin Trudeau looks a lot like another guy. I don't know who it was again, but
well, they've replaced Justin Trudeau. He's gone.
Right.
Yep. Good. He's been replaced with Mark Carney, who used to be the UK Bank of England chair. And
brilliant.
I'm not going to go off on another political thing, but he is not necessarily the right person for Canada, put it that way.
You think Canadian would be? I think Canadian would be best.
Well, no, he is a Canadian.
Oh, good.
But I don't know why he ended up in charge of the Bank of England, because we had Merv. No, it's not Merv Hughes. He was an Australian bowler. We had Mervyn King, right, for years. He was a good guy, right, and then we got rid of him, and then we got
Canadian,
and then we got Canadian in, yeah, and it all kind of went wrong. Anyway, the point of the matter is, getting back to the point, that Tether now has more US treasuries than Canada. It's got 33 billion in US government debt. Tether's influence has taken over traditional finance markets, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to read more about that. Ardonio noted that the large treasury purchase in the Cayman Island and Luxembourg were not under the sole name of a single entity. Instead, these figures cover many hedge funds. So again, the point of the matter is that you have a private American company that has more US treasuries than
a country,
Canada. Okay. Now, basically, you know those memes where you see somebody running, and then the person looks down and they've moved 6 inches on the floor.
Yeah.
That's Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. that they are trying to live in this age of social media where they're trying to show that they have this,
Right.
that, and the other. And at the end of the day, I think their economy is like, what, 30 times smaller than that of America, something like that.
like that
Mexico
clip
is
of,
the same.
Do you see that clip of Daryl in Walking Dead who's running on that road and the camera angle looks like he's not moving a single bit? It's funny. He's running for his life. He's got a crossbow in his hand, running, absolutely running. He's not moving on screen. It's like that.
Well, that's kind of. I mean, the thing is, again, I get they're a proud nation. I get they're a proud nation. I get Americans are a proud. America's a proud nation. I get all of that, but saying things that they said, just in my opinion, it makes them look weak. They look weak.
Well, screw you. I'm saying all your things.
Exactly. You need to, especially with Trump. Like, look at Macron. Macron handled Trump really well in the meeting, and when you handle him well, he respects you. When you do tit for tat with Trump, he's bringing you down to his level, and he's going to win. You know, they always talk about that in boxing. You know, when you've got like a scrappy boxer, and he's fighting against a finesser. If he brings that finesser down to his level for a scrap, the scrapper is always going to win. You know, that's why AJ, Anthony Joshua, keeps losing to that overweight Italian-American fighter.
Right.
Because he's a street fighter and Joshua isn't. Joshua's a gym bunny, right? So when you get down to that level, football do the same. You know, you've got a team like Accrington Stanley play Liverpool. They'll water the pitch so it's like a lake. They'll grow the grass so it's like 12 inches high. And they'll try and bring Liverpool down to their level. Canada needs to stop reacting, and Mexico, they need to stop. Europe are the same. You're walking straight into Trump's play. Don't go tit for tat.
Because as much as it's obviously governments aren't what's the word for it? You know, it's not a publicity Love Island type of thing. But at the same time, it's like, I think there is a bit of appreciation which has to be had for countries just by people in general.
Yeah.
And not just the government as a whole, but obviously the leaders of them have to be appreciated. Otherwise, they're not going to be, you know, continuing their reign of said country. So I think it's a good strategy to kind of expose you know, the reactions of Canada in this way. You know, especially being manned by you know, Justin. Obviously being changed now, but I think I think his plan would be to kind of go, screw you guys, and then see if they stay back, basically.
Yeah. Again, I'm not a Canadian, so I don't know, but bringing in a carbon tax in a country that's got more trees than people,
yeah,
and generates so much less, it sucks so much carbon out of the atmosphere. So bringing a carbon tax in probably one of the greenest countries in the world,
yeah.
It's like, well, clearly you're not doing it for the sake of the planet. You're doing it as a political move because you believe you should spend the money over. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent. Let's move on. Right, yesterday I told you, didn't tell you, told the audience that Radium, which is the biggest DEX on Solana, was launching a copy and paste pump.fun.
Right.
And I said, it's like turning up at a party at 2 a.m. with a bottle of beer while everybody's asleep on the floor, or throwing up in the sink, or passed out, right? Today, or yesterday, it was announced that Pump.fun was launching its Pump Swap exchange. So the reason that Radium launched Pump.fun's copy was they would have got wind of Pump.fun launching a DEX.
It's like Canada
So
and
it's
USA.
tit for tat. It's back to Canada and America all over again, right?
Who's Canada? Who's America?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem here is we know that the Pump.fun copy isn't going to work, but the majority of Radium's revenue for the last 6 months has come from Pump.fun, and now Pump.fun are not going to use Radium.
No.
So I think Radium are going to feel this,
Yeah.
and I don't think Pump.fun are going to enjoy it. And there's also, and I didn't get the name of it, I think it's called Titan or Titanium. There's a new DEX launching on Solana, and it came out last night. It's like a purple planet. I think it's called Titan, actually.
Okay.
So that's happening. Now, again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't rock the boat. I'm not saying that you shouldn't innovate. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this. But if this partnership has been working so well for so long, why are they trying to snipe each other?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like you've got your pie, we've got our pie. We're just happy eating our pies. But instead, they're going to go toe to toe, and probably one of them, if not both of them, is going to lose.
Yeah, it's probably going to affect. I reckon it'll probably affect both of them. Obviously, Radium's going to lose out quite a bit. But I think, I mean, if I had to wager my bets, I think who do you reckon would come out on top out of this kind of situation?
Right, Pump.Fun makes money hand over fist.
Yeah.
A lot of money. Like, we're talking hundreds of thousands of sol. So because they're making the most money, they can then spend the most money.
Yeah, and spend most time maybe not making as much money, but still doing their thing.
But, and this is a big but, 2 weeks ago, there were something like 100,000 Solana tokens being launched on Pump.Fun. In the last 40, maybe they can ride the storm, maybe they can take the hit, whatever it might be. Longer term, I think Pump.Fun is the one that's going to go to the wayside, right? Because they've got a
It's gimmicky. And the current gimmick right now is Solana meme coins.
Yeah. So it's
crap coins.
Exactly. It's like, what do you call it? Pokemon Go on the mobile phone.
Yeah. Had a good run. Really good run.
3 billion people played that for what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, but still, I think there's still a lot of people play it.
There is, yeah.
But there's nowhere near as much as it was.
And I think Pump.Fun's going to be the same. The thing is, it got abused because you can go to Pump.Fun if you're a legitimate project and get a cookie cutter token, circulating supply, that kind of stuff. And you can launch a real token that does a real thing, right? But why would you?
And you can just create like
exactly. So
chill guy coin, whatever.
But
chill guy with hat on.
So we know.
Chill guy with hat on with knife.
So now we know why Radium is launching Pump.Fun because Pump.Fun is launching.
So why should do that? They should just combine every meme coin and have it in one.
They did. There was one called like Elon, Doge, Moon,
but
Mars,
that's pathetic.
Musk.
You got to do like what's the most popular ones? You got with knife,
hat,
with hat. That's really showing our lack of meme coin.
Well, there aren't really that many. There's hat and there's knife, and you don't really get many more than that. You then get, is it a dog? Is it a cat? Is it a frog? So okay. that'll be the next thing.
Okay.
So you
chill frog with hat with knife.
Yeah.
We'll think about it. I want to read the chat though because there's some more hellos. Let's say hello to Jason.
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning to you as well. Scroll past this. Good morning, Solar Sky. KB said he thinks about hockey when he thinks about Canada.
Hockey, yes.
I'm a big hockey person.
Well, Canadians have always had, I think, the best hockey team.
Right.
And a few weeks ago, they had an America-Canada hockey match. I think they're the best of 3, actually. And they just beat the crap out of each other. Literally.
Oh, you can just barge people.
They teed off, or whatever they do in their game. They teed off, right? And then 2 of them just started hitting each other. Helmets off, punch. The referee just stood there waiting for them to stop fighting, sent them both to the sin bin, came back on 5 minutes later, somebody else started fighting. It was just attrition all over the place, right?
Well, in terms of hockey, the only hockey I've played is the ground one. There's hockey as well, isn't it? It's called hockey? That's right. Yeah, the ground one. There's the ground and there's the ice hockey.
Yeah, there's ice hockey.
Yeah, good. I just want to make sure. I enjoyed that. That was good. It's like golf, but really fast and aggressive. There's no hole. This is a goal. And like you just hit the ball everywhere and you like swing it. It's not bad. And you can hit people's feet and stuff. You'd be like really smarmy about it. That's the only hockey I've played. I enjoyed that. And Dan says only Terence and Philip on my mind. Talking about Canada.
Terence and Philip?
Not quite.
Terence and Philip who?
I don't get that.
Terence and Philip.
I don't know who they are. Maybe.
Right, we're not going to do the Pengo article, so we're going to go to the last article because we've got 15 minutes left, and everybody wants the Bitcoin chart.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm just going to give 2 prices.
Everybody in chat, okay, is ignoring everything I'm saying. They're not here for me, okay? You know, it's like going to watch a Kamala Harris event, and you're not there for Kamala Harris. You're there for Beyonce, aren't you?
Right, yeah.
So come on, in her
sparkly,
beautiful white complexion, on a pale horse, singing about cowboys, all that kind of stuff.
Texas and whatnot. I probably shouldn't say anything else.
So we're going to go through that. Now then, Zach XBT exposes Hyperliquid whale's 20 million profits from illicit funds and casino exploits. So the whale that was out, was it last weekend? The one that kept shorting and longing Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody was thinking, it's clearly Baron Trump because Baron...
Yes, heard it.
Okay. So Zach went off on his merry little way and investigated.
Right.
And Zach has found him linked to some of these activities, including the casino exploits, phishing schemes, And according to an investigation by on-chain sleuth Zach XBT, we are a massive fan of him on the channel.
Yep.
Him and Carpet Rug Muncher,
Okay.
or Crypto Rug Muncher, not Carpet Rug Muncher. That's somebody entirely different. Which, if you're in there watching now and you don't know what one is, go and look it up because it's got nothing to do with crypto. Crypto Rug Muncher. There's a few others as well. There's like Aaron XBT, and there's a few others that do it as well. But again, you need to self-police because we don't have the police, and the police can't possibly understand half of the stuff that we're talking about. So an investigation found where the money had come from. The trader who operated under the whale address, doesn't really matter what the whale address is, he made 10 million profit on a 50x leverage, Ethereum and Bitcoin long positions just before a major crypto announcement by Trump, and a 9 million profit from a 40x Bitcoin short position. So he was longing and shorting the market.
Right.
And again, did we know who this person was? Probably not. Do we think he's got any connection to Trump? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. But he traced the activities to various online casinos, including Roobet, Binance, as well as a phishing scheme. One of the wallets was identified as the fee receiver of a phishing site in Jan 2025. Further investigation revealed the funds used high leverage trading. Anyway, we don't need to read any more of that. The point of the matter is that Zach has traced it back to illegal activities.
Right.
And for those of you out there that are always told that crypto is full of scammers, let me tell you something, okay? 25 years ago, when the internet first started, the internet was full of scammers, full of them. And at the time, everyone was like, how do we stop this from happening? This is really difficult to do. Believe it or not, there are probably 50 serious scammers in the world. That's it, okay? And law enforcement, the good guys, will eventually catch every single one of them. You think that there are hundreds of thousands of people out there trying to get to you, but when you chase it back and when you follow the thread, you'll find out that there aren't that many people doing it, because for it to be a success, it has to be organized. For it to be organized, it needs a hierarchy and it needs a group of people who know what they're doing.
Smart,
okay?
smart people. Yeah.
Smart people, right? Now, we all know about Lazarus, the North Korean, right? If you took them out of the equation, that's half of the money that's been scammed gone.
But that's yeah, exactly, because like that's North Korean state sponsored,
top
of the game. And they're not just, and again, this is the thing. It's like cryptos, Lazarus people. It's always about crypto. They've done more than just crypto. I've heard about them so much. Not just crypto, but everywhere.
I'm going to tell you a story.
I think there was a hospital hack in America.
I've got a better one for you.
Go on.
This is genius. This one.
There was a hospital one. And I think it was Lazarus. I might be wrong on that one.
So
massive hack.
I've gone full screen. Hello, everybody. I've also brought your chart up, by the way.
Have you got the right link?
Let me make sure. No.
Do we send it again?
Oh no, I have yet.
I've
got the right link. Right. So, very quickly, a few years ago, a military base got hacked in America. I'm not telling you how it got hacked, or I'm sorry, I'm not going to explain what went wrong. But what the North Koreans did, and America's been doing this since, by the way, because they thought it was such a good idea. They supplied all of the hardware stores, IT hardware stores, in the area of this military base. Why have I zoomed in?
Oh, you've done this. I've done it all the time.
How do I make it smaller?
You got to do that.
But
it was really finicky.
Hey!
I do it all the time. Watching there,
Look at that. Right. So what they did, they went to every IT store in the area, and they gave, or they didn't give, they supplied every single IT store in the area with what?
Is this as a result of the hack?
To hack. What did they supply? They supplied them all with memory sticks and with fobs and with everything you can connect to a computer with a USB from, right?
Oh, so they live boot stuff.
So the hackers went to every IT store in the area around the military base and fitted each one of these hardware stores with preloaded code on memory sticks.
These are the USB sticks which you can plug in and automatically run. Okay.
Right. So they knew that the American people were not clever enough to have a centralized store of IT equipment that's sanitized and sent out.
Yeah.
So what would happen
They
was
go to these stores and go buy
they
them.
go to these stores and buy 10 memory sticks
Right.
that are preloaded with the Trojan software or whatever the software was. They bring it in, plug it in, and then all of a sudden the entire thing got hacked.
Smart.
Everything got wiped out, and then they were sitting there scratching their heads, going,
What the hell just happened?
like that.
But that's the worst part about some hacks is like it's very hard to pinpoint. That's obviously rigorous logging, whatever.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find out what the source is.
Nope.
And you obviously they probably they have figured it out, obviously clearly. But it's like you have to really think about what's happened as of late, and it's like tons of stuff happened in those bases. You can think about anything. Like it's probably the last. I would think that's quite smart because it's the last thing you think about. It's like buying a fresh USB stick.
But the thing is, I compare it to the UK. So UK submarine. One guy brought his personal laptop, onto a UK submarine.
Right.
He didn't just get fired; he got fired out of the torpedo chute of the submarine, because the UK is so much smaller that we still have massive problems in like communication, distribution, and stuff like that. But we've got like 4 nuclear submarines, so you only need one person to have an IT plan, so that like no memory sticks, no laptops, no mobile phones, no electrical equipment that doesn't come with that ship is put on board. America must have 5,000 military bases, each one of them operating independently, no IT people there. But anyway, the Americans took that idea and ran off with it. So anyway, in the background, whilst I was talking about that, I feel a little bit like one of those like chefs that's cooking.
Me.
But me.
Not me.
I'm talking to the audience while I'm preparing you in the background. So your chart is now live.
Brilliant. Do you want to crop it?
No.
Okay.
Because I can't make it. I can make it bigger on the screen if you want.
Yeah, I mean, you shimmy it a bit and like, get rid of that blue crap on the sides. I mean, obviously, if you can't really.
Is that better?
Actually, that's better.
Right,
better.
okay.
It zooms a bit better. Don't really matter. People can see the chart. It really doesn't matter. This is your chart, so I thought I'd bring your chart up first. Obviously, we might that last. So, do you want to talk about your prices? And I can hover it on the screen as you.
So, basically, I've got 2 targets for Bitcoin, and those targets happen to be the top and bottom of that range that's on the screen now.
Well, let me do a little bit of a fancy thing, which you might not have yet in your repertoire. See that? You'll see it in a minute. I know you might see it now. Are you watching this through the stream? Or are you watching this through?
I'm watching this through Prism.
I'll do red and green. Red and green, whatever. There you go. I just wanted for the people.
Exactly right. Okay, they are the 2 targets that I gave on probably Wednesday and Thursday, and the only reason I've got those 2 targets is because they're the top and bottom of that range that we're in. Now, this is the weekly chart, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. It looks like the weekly chart.
It definitely is the weekly chart.
Right. Now, the 73.8 is the 2024 high.
Yes.
Right.
See that.
Okay. The 91 is, if you follow it, obviously if you did this on the daily, it'd be a lot clearer, but keep it on the weekly.
Shall we go daily?
No. But that channel coming down, we've got to break 91.
I'm going to go to daily.
5. We've got to break 91.5 to break out of that range. Okay, there we go. That's much better. So we've got to break out of it. Now, you can see on there, we've got maybe 4, 5 different attempts at that, and we've not done it. So I think they're the 2 targets for me. And until we break, we could come down to 73.8 and then really bounce. Okay?
Yeah.
And I think the other option is we go to 91.5 and then we come down. Now, KB in chat said yesterday he's got 92. And my line, which I drew, clearly was incorrect because I thought it was about 90 and a bit. You've now redrawn it properly at 91.5.
Well, I've got 2 as well on the high end. I think I've got like 91.8. I've got 90,340. I've got some support areas. But obviously, you've got like, I mean, if you look at the kind of, obviously you've got this high area, you've got kind of this rough bounce, this, and then if we obviously come to here, if we have another bounce, I could definitely see 73.8 because there's not really much there.
Nope.
If we kind of, even if it's straight down, if it's straight, because like these ones, it's very sharp.
Yes.
So the majority of move downs are very sharp downwards.
They're massive, and the thing is, each one of them you can correlate to something that happened. So the tariffs, the tariffs was a massive wick down. The Trump talking about something that was going on in Eastern Europe, that was one of those wicks as well that was pushing us up.
I mean, because my original analysis was within this range, which was these 2 lows, getting surpassed by this, and one of these lines was like the low, and then I thought we were going to like kind of come up here. Obviously, we had equilibrium here. I'll get to my charts in a minute as well, but we kind of came up and come back down to this kind of equilibrium area. But yeah, if we come back down again, yeah, I could definitely see 74, 73. I'll have a look at it in a second. Well, actually now, because
look, we've got 5 minutes if you want to.
I'm not going to spend. I'm not going to spend more than I'm not going to spend like 10 minutes. I'm just going to do this really quick.
By the way, while he's doing that, if you are new here and you have not smashed the like
50.
button and give us a follow, please give us a like and a follow. And I'm going to bring up our YouTube channel in a minute to show you where you can go and give us a follow. But we are coming in at 204,200, so we're not doing too badly. Not doing too badly. Sub 200,000 was a long time ago, you know.
Yes,
a long time ago.
So that is, it's more of, this is kind of the middle of the area, but it's in between like 92.5 area. This is kind of the resistance line. It's probably, I mean, considering the trend, it'll probably be on the higher end. It'll probably be towards 92.5, but it's within this range there. But anyway, I've got this. So we had this. This is equilibrium. This whole thing going on here. My mouse is quite sensitive, so unfortunately I can't really draw time with that well. But we've got this range here, which obviously these outer rims are equilibrium. We can see this bounce from where we pumped from the high of FOMC. Obviously we're pumping, everything's going really well. This is where we hit to maximum, and obviously we're now retracing. So in my opinion, based on this range anyway, I have different ranges. We don't, even on the lower ranges, to be fair, if I go to it quickly, we don't have anything below us. Realistically, obviously there's probably some candles you can probably analyze here. We don't have anything below us until this equilibrium at 82.6. So I do believe we could go back to there in that range. I think we'll do. I think a nice trend change would be to have a higher low than this. Obviously we've surpassed this high. We've surpassed these highs. Obviously we're having these kind of lower highs here, kind of coming down. We had this max high of this period, had this massive pump in the market, which had this completely surpassed this high. So if we can have higher than this, we'll now be in a really good situation to then have another high coming back up towards 89, 88k. There's tons of different equilibrium points. Mainly for me though, it's 90,340, and then it gets to this range about 91.8 for this high here. Obviously this is sitting in between. You can see we bounced off this previously. This is sitting in between this breaker block, but for me it's like this 91.8 area, this 90,340 are the main two areas I have. Probably shimmy this up a bit actually for this high. Those are the main two areas I have for resistance points on the way up, as of local. And then, like I said, for support, for a bounce, I do think we'll come towards 82.6.
So if you take your chart that you've got there, if you don't move now, right? So from my point of view, this looks like we've put in 4 higher lows, and it looks like, apart from the faked one there, it looks like we've put in 3 higher highs. So if you draw a channel up from the 11th, it looks like we're in another channel.
Over the period, we've had this whole period's been since this sweep. I talked about this ages ago. Obviously, you guys remember this if you've been on my streams. I talked about this low at this low point at 78. Obviously, we had this wick. If we go to the higher range, which is what I looked at, we can see it a bit better with this wick to this purple line and this print on this high. So I did talk about this a while ago. This was kind of my low for this whole period because of this surpassing. I think there's a low back here somewhere. Oh, there might not be, but I think it's these two lows. It might have been when I was talking about surpassing these and then coming here. This was my main area. I think this was my low, personal. Like I didn't really think we'll come lower than this. And since then we've been putting in these high highs, high lows. The only reason I said were these lows was this period. But even then, it was kind of us on the wider range, just kind of coming up and down during this period. So we're still in a good scenario. And again, we haven't changed this. If you look on different time frames, you might see differently. But apart from kind of this period where we kind of had this going on, we've been moving quite nicely. I do think obviously this range has it a bit higher, to be fair. But actually, if I shimmied it a bit, it might fit a bit better.
I mean, it's not. I think, like I said, if we're at $84,000 on the 1st of April, that would not surprise me. What we at now?
84,165.
So again, I think if we're at 84,000 on the 1st or even the 10th of April, none of that would surprise me, because
84.
Sorry, what did I say?
You said 84.
84
Where we are right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to move. I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to go sideways. I think. Right, the QT was slashed by about 80% this week, right? So they've stopped quantitative tightening, but it's still going on. Inflation may go up because of the tariffs, but I don't think they will, right? I think we need to have a look at April. Now, there is a very good chance that inflation goes up next month and we don't get a rate cut and then the markets tank. That's what I think could happen in April. And no matter how we look at it, it's going to take Trump time to get inflation down because he wants to get energy down.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, I mean, obviously I don't really look at chart patterns too much, but if you were to kind of consider this as like this rising, whatever the hell it's called, flag, bull flag. Let me just draw it a bit better.
Don't you take the line down and then carry on moving down?
So that's kind of bull flag. You take it from here, don't you, like this thing, and then you move it down from one of the highs. So it could be towards about 73k.
Yeah.
Which, there's potential for it. I wouldn't want to see it. So if I go on the higher range, I can. Where's my higher range? Here it is. There's not really any correlation for me anyway. I mean, apart from maybe this low down here. But I think if we were to come down here, I think we could come even lower than this in terms of 73. I think we was 71 free, but this is like, if that was to happen. I mean, we have support points below us anyway to kind of slow us down. It's just kind of something to draw. But I suppose, we do have that to consider.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, I agree with the potential for a bit of a crab because this is like this is going to be big, like quite a big resistance point. This is this is the first time we've come to it since we were kind of up and down back here above it the entire time. Obviously on the higher ranges we had a bit of a wider equilibrium, which we also had nice support at. If I zoom it out, is it this one or is it 7? I think this one on the weekly was quite nice. You can see like obviously this is on the 4 hour, so it looks a bit, it's not as accurate, but we have had multiple bounces on this equilibrium line here for Bitcoin. But I mean, I can agree with a bit of crab, a bit of not nice and quick and just straight line right back upwards because we do have this equilibrium. I mean, I could expect a bit of a kind of process to get up it because again these are going to be resistance and support points. But I wouldn't be surprised if we only bounced off 88k. We kind of did this and then bounced again, but it's still that wouldn't be a bad thing because again, even though this is a flag and the theoretical on chart patterns is that we dump from them, it is still a higher low scenario where we would maybe come up into 88 and then come down to whatever. So
of everything, Bitcoin is the only thing I'm not worried about. Right, I'm worried about altcoins. I am worried that we're not going to get an alt season. I am worried that the liquidity that we've brought into Bitcoin is not going to go into alts because it's in ETFs.
Right.
So the reason I'm saying this is ETFs have bought 100,000 Bitcoin in a year. Right? Just Bitcoin in a year. Now, maybe without the ETFs, we would be nowhere near the price we are now. Okay? There's a possibility of that, yeah? Maybe we should be at 55,000 now without the ETF, 60,000. So maybe they've messed up the charts a little bit. But what I'm worried about is the alt season is the money flowing out of Bitcoin into alts. But the money isn't going to come out of Bitcoin because the money's in ETFs. So my question is, do we have a smaller alt season? And if we have a smaller alt season, is the fact that we're currently not seeing any of the alts going anywhere, is it down to the fact that the money that in Bitcoin is in ETFs? Because the thing is, we're at the stage now where the alts shouldn't be pumping. Like the alt season does not start in March or February, right? So we've got a long way to go. So what I'm saying now isn't about today or tomorrow. It's about September, October, and November. Like, do we just not have an alt season? Like, what happens if retail comes back and just buys ETFs?
Yep. What
happens if everyone goes, what happens if there's a massive BlackRock marketing campaign in October this year and says, buy Bitcoin for free, as in like no fees? What happens if all the money, what happens if $100 billion comes into Bitcoin ETFs at the end of October and we don't see the alt season? I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just
I know, it's just an idea. I mean, we talked about this. The money has to come from somewhere, and if the majority of the money is locked up in ETFs, which can't have that access to, actually get into the meme coins. I think, the resultant of, I think Bitcoin will move down less. Obviously, I think once we hit tops, I think there'll be unanimous selling of things. But I think, I remember one of the points I thought about was the increase of people selling bull run by bull run, because people will sell, quite a lot of people sell every bull run. There might be quite a few people who hold Bitcoin for 2 runs or 3 runs, and then they start to sell at these periods. So it might be a thing where we have the people who sell every bull run, and then the people who sell every 2 or whatever, and maybe this is the bull run they sell.
The flippers.
Exactly. So I think as we go upwards, there might be more and more people who sell per thing, and obviously with ETFs, we'd assume people will also sell at highs. So it's kind of this big old sell. So I think, there will probably be a big sell, definitely. But I don't think the conversion will result in there being a bunch of alts. I think there'll be a small, slice of the pie which does get put into alts. But
I think the alts that make money, they're the ones that are going to get the pump.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is like the profit making alts,
right?
Like the Jupiter of the world or the Chainlinks of the world. Obviously, Solana and Cardano and XRP, they're all going to get their own ETFs. So they're likely to go up. So if it's going to get an ETF in the next 6 months, it's likely to go up.
Yeah.
But your Doge Musk with cat is not likely to go up. Anyway,
No.
I've got one more thing to say before we go because we have overrun. So very quickly, we are on YouTube. This is Crypto Warehouse. Okay, and we have made some videos that I would like you to watch, if at all possible. It's not going to take very long time. The XRP video. A second, it will come back because I've literally just seen it.
Yeah, I'm seeing it now on my YouTube.
There we go. The Oracle will be back on Monday. I will be back on Monday. Thank you to everybody. Do you want to say thank you to everybody in chat?
Yes,
and
appreciate
then we
you
will go.
all for being here. I've enjoyed the stream. It's been a nice stream, really relaxed. So thank you for having me on the morning stream. I think
I've enjoyed it. Have you liked it in chat? Have you liked having the Oracle here in chat?
It's been nice to have a conversation about things. I assume, obviously, with charts, I guess I don't really mind. It'd be nice to have, a conversation about things. I think it makes it easy to consume when it flows a bit better when it bounces off 2 people rather than a constant, maybe even incoherent stream. For me, anyway, I know for my stream sometimes it's a bit incoherent. Incoherent, I should probably say. But I think hopefully it's been good for everybody. I've enjoyed it's been more conversational. I've enjoyed having it.
And it's worked quite well. I'm watching it on the phone, as you can see, and it's actually quite smooth. So thank you, everybody. See you all on Monday. Take care. Have a great weekend. I'm going to turn him off before he can say anything else.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There we go. Right.